are saying we want to be free. It is not only Biafra that is going to be free this year. A lot of nations will break. Nigeria is going to break into pieces. And we, the Biafra people, are going to make it possible. I am telling you now, it is not a hidden thing. It is going to happen this year. Those of you who are planning to have election in 2023, which is next month, you are going to fail. We will disappoint you and you will disappoint yourself. Good evening, good evening, good evening, fellow Biafrans. Good evening, good evening, good evening. You're welcome. You're welcome to the program this evening. You can see from the beginning of this program, we have been able to bring to you how Nigeria breed criminals. From all the presidential candidates, they're all criminals. You see how the people from Australia came to Nigeria to deal with their internet cyber criminals. And all of them committed, they are all criminals. And now, if you are watching, you are going to have the opportunity to listen to how I was responding to a journalist, to a foreign journalist. You're going to have the privilege to watch it this evening. And on this note, if you are watching from Twitter, we are going to cut you off. Come to Enter Biafra, click on the link on our Twitter page and come here and watch, and watch, because this particular platform was built for you. So you can watch our own from our own channel, not all these social media. I will tell you today that my Facebook has been removed, completely removed. But of course, Enter Biafra is still there. But my personal Facebook page has been removed. So we are not going to rely on all these social media, with their corrupt shenanigans they do with their community standard and guidelines. So we have our own platform, and it is meant for you to be able to get information for the Biafra liberation and the Biafra awareness. So we want you, we're encouraging you to come here and click on the link and come here and watch and enjoy this program. So for that reason, those of you watching from Twitter, you will be cut off, and we encourage you to join our platform. Thank you. All right, and here we go.
Simon, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
So much is riding on this election, especially for young people in Nigeria. They're desperate for change, is my view. Why are you so determined to undermine democracy?
I think undermining democracy is not the right word. Rather, promoting democracy. You give the people a choice. And the choice of the Biafra people is a referendum. It is also a democratic process. So that is not undermining a democracy. More accepted democratic process is when you give the people choice to decide their fate.
But they have a choice. This is an election which will be following democratic laws.
In Nigeria, Biafran people do not have a choice. And that is a historical problem created by the British. So everybody, as you have been a journalist with your experience and the history of Nigeria, you agree with me that Nigeria is a mistake because of the tribal and dangerous diversity in Nigeria, which is also a destructive diversity. So when you give the people the choice to choose how they want to live, that is a true democracy. A democracy is not when you bring in the military and invade communities, burn the communities because people are protesting. You kill them. Is that democracy? Do you do that in the United Kingdom? The answer is no.
But what about your role in all this? Your tweets.
My role.
Wait a minute. Your role in all this. Your tweets and your social media. Why the need for violence?
It is. Yeah.
At least 1,500 people died in the last 3 presidential election campaigns.
Was it my fault then?
And there have been deaths so far in this one too.
That's what we want to correct by making sure we do not continue to validate an evil entity that subject their citizens to death. So the only solution to this is to disintegrate this evil entity and allow people to make their choice so that they can develop and practice politics in the best way possible, just like the Europeans here.
So are you justifying the violence that comes from the kind of stuff that you...
It is not, the violence is not about what I do. It is the provocation of the policy of Nigeria. Okay? So it is a long time bomb coming. So what you see happening now, Nigeria have a history of violence from the beginning of Nigeria. After independence, every election in Nigeria has witnessed violence. So it is not about me. I am here as a good guy to put an end, to have a lasting solution to the violence that have caused the life of thousands of Nigerians.
But do you not accept that some of the things that you say has engendered this kind of...
From your own perspective, you can translate it and interpret it however you want. But from my own perspective, I think I am the good guy trying to teach the people that they have a right.
So there's no blood on your hands?
There is no blood on my hand. There are more blood on those supporting the election, supporting this particular coming election. They have more blood in their hand. In Imo State, you have a governor that have invaded his own state, killed people, and why are you people not talking about that? Those are the people that have blood in their hand. All the people that have been elected in Nigeria since 1960 all have had bloods in their hands, and nobody is asking them questions. I am just the good guy who say enough is enough. Somebody have to say something, and somebody have to do something, and we're doing it.
But couldn't you make more progress if you were in the tent, as it were, rather than out the tent?
You can't
in another country.
Sorry?
You're in Finland.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be better if you went back home and did the political thing there?
You should know. You see, I learn from what happened to others. I don't want to put my life in danger because the country, as far as I'm concerned, does not exist. Any country that does not respect the rule of law does not exist.
You're scared you might be killed?
Not everybody. You know that. You can say that as well. Yes.
There's a bounty on your head.
Yes, there's a bounty on my head because Nigeria, because of the Islamic agenda in Nigeria, whoever that rises up to say something that will, make the life of the people to be better, they want to kill the person. They assassinate people every day. And today you see that there is a video that has been released by a man called Ikenga Imo when an assassin invaded his house and they wanted to kill him. They are police officers, but if there is no CCTV, they will say unknown gunmen. These are the people that are causing all this crisis in Biafra land. But without that video, everybody has concluded that they are unknown gunmen. Today we have known them. What are the government doing about it? What are the international community doing about it? Every evidences that have surfaced anywhere about CCTV camera, it has always been security agent from the Nigeria state. Nobody is talking about that. That is what we are fighting against. We are defending ourselves and we have armed ourselves to fight Nigeria till the last day. We have done it before. The only difference now is that today we have social media. If social media was there in the 1960s, somebody will do what I'm doing today. In those days, you have a man called Okokondem. Okokondem was broadcasting for Radio Biafra and was propagating Biafra stuff, but because there were no social media, so he would have done even more than I'm doing today, I believe so. So this is what will make a difference. And my activities on social media is educating the people, telling them they are right, that you have a right to say no, and you have the right to say yes.
Who's funding you and your organisation?
Biafra people are funding my organization.
Not the Tinubu party.
I have nothing to do with Tinubu, and you know, it's very funny. A lot of people said Tinubu paid me 25 million. How is that possible? How is it possible?
You're denying he
I don't know who is Tinubu. I have never communicated with anybody close to him. Just like the way they forged the letter. The reason why this letter issue, Nigeria is a criminal country. They breed criminals, and that is what we are fighting against. The reason why the letter on gets sorted out easily and fast was because it was against Finland, and Finland have to officially react to the letter, and the letter went viral. There are so many lies against me out there on social media. Nobody could come and say it is not true. Okay, so and those lies, when they continue to say it and maintain it, it becomes truth when nobody debunk it.
You talk about criminals. Do you think the candidates for the presidency are criminals?
They are all criminals, yes. All of them.
Even Peter Obi?
Peter Obi is a criminal.
He's a southerner, isn't he?
He doesn't. I am not a tribal. Listen, I'm not a tribalist. I'm not a tribalist, and that is what makes us different. We want. If I'm criticizing you, I criticize you with fact and figures. I'm going to tell you how all of them are. Do I explain? One, starting from Atiku. Atiku was indicted in the United States for money laundering. He's a criminal. How do you think if Nigeria is a United States, Atiku will come back and start contesting with the criminal record he has had for money laundering? Tinubu was indicted in the United States for drug pushing. The records are there, so it's criminal. Nigeria is being ruled by criminals, and they breed criminals. Peter Obi his name was in Pandora. He didn't deny it. It's also the part of international money laundering crime. He has $15 million in offshore account.
But surely Obi, being a southerner, is on the side of your people.
That is the problem. Why must you have somebody that have to be in the side of my people? That is the dangerous diversity that have brought us this far, because it will never work. Everything about Nigeria is what favors my people. We want a Biafra where everything favors everybody. But when you have Nigeria, it is either Fulani. Now we don't even have Hausa anymore because Fulani have overshadowed them. So it is either you are fighting for Northerner as a Fulani Muslim, or you are fighting for Yorubas, or you are fighting for Igbo people. So how can you continue in that kind of system? This is why we must make sure that we do not validate Nigeria again. So. Yeah. No, no. Yeah, cool. It's a meter. Yeah. Sorry, that's my security.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What's your relationship with Mr. Kanu at the moment?
Kanu is the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, and I regard him as my leader.
Do you talk? Do you have contact with him?
Well, we communicate somehow, but that's a confidential issue.
Because you see, he's disavowed violence. He thinks he's made statements to say that
everybody condemn violence. I condemn violence.
Okay.
I have always condemned violence on social media. Maybe you don't follow that. But where is the violence coming? Who are those committing the violence? They're the Nigeria state. And their intention is to use violence to blackmail what we're doing. And of course, you do not expect people who are Nigerians who are angry, who have lost hope. And the next thing you see from them is when you are hopeless, you become violent. So what is happening now is not caused by anybody. It is caused by the system itself. And until we begin to understand that the violence happening in Nigeria is being generated by the Nigeria system itself, we will never be telling ourselves the truth.
Are you going to rein in your rhetoric a little bit now? Because
How?
We're in the election period. You know people hang on to your words, and it can cause some violence, can't it?
Well, I don't care. We are already at war. In Biafra side of Nigeria, there is a war going on there, and I don't know why medias are not covering it. Do you see a democratic place where the plane will be throwing bombs to the people? It's war. The villages are getting burnt, houses are getting burnt. Even in Ukraine, where you're going to now, the number of people dying in Biafra land outnumber the people dying in Ukraine. So how do you balance that? And who are doing this? The Nigeria themselves, the Nigeria state. When the military comes to the village, instead of protecting the people, they get angry because they obey our orders and then they start burning their villages. So we don't want to continue like that. We want to have, the only solution to this is the disintegration of Nigeria. And if Nigeria do not disintegrate now, the disintegration later on will be very, very, very chaotic. It will be very hard before international community, if they continue to let us manage this and force people into election in Biafra land, when this time bomb is going to explode, it will affect everyone.
One last question.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the election?
Election is not happening in Biafra land.
Because you don't want people to vote?
Not me. Biafra have decided. I am telling you the fact. There is nothing that will make Biafrans people to go out and vote. This is a life and death matter. We have come a long way. For over 50 years, Nigeria have done all manner of genocide, committed genocide against our people, kill us every day, and you expect us to allow them to continue to kill us, to elect governors that will bring military and militarize our territory? We can't do that again.
That's 11 million votes, isn't it?
Nobody will vote in Biafra land. I am telling you the fact. It will shock the world. We've made up our mind and we know what we have on ground. Nobody will vote in Biafra land.
Even if that undermines the rest of the...
It is not undermining, no. This particular civil disobedience is also a democratic process. And I want you to see it in that perspective. When people say, I don't want, it is their choice. And if you think that there are people who want to vote that are bigger in number, conduct a referendum. As simple as that. For now, we control 90% of Biafra people. 90%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Right. And I hope, everybody can now watch and listen to how I responded to those to those questions being thrown by the foreign journalist. And we're going to have a break and then we'll continue.
You must go and listen to Simon Ekpa, who is doing a very fantastic job. Very great job that Simon Ekpa is doing. Very, very, absolutely fantastic job that he's doing. You must listen to him and share his videos accordingly. Very, very important. He is bringing a new dimension to this very awareness that we're making, and you must listen to him. Very, very important.
Nigeria, on a daily basis, witness the impunity which is so-called Fulani herdsmen extremists who share an ethnic and religious identity with President Buhari and the Fulani elite, which now dominates all key institutions in Nigeria.
To open an investigation specifically into the wide-scale and systematic killing of the civilian population, and most notably targeting the indigenous people of Biafra.
Clear that now we've put the Biafran issue on the radar screen of the government, of the Biden administration, of Congress.
Ongoing and wide-scale systematic killing of the civilian population, and again, specifically targeting the IPOB.
Of weapons being used against Biafrans, but affirmatively supporting an effort to have an independence referendum organized and conducted by the United Nations, as we've done in South Sudan.
They formally open an investigation and look into what we are identifying as a genocide that's being committed by the Nigerian government and extremist Fulanis against the indigenous people of Biafra.
There's been enough of an experience since 1960 to suggest there simply is not a way, given the history of division between the Fulani and the Biafrans, to think that they can coexist under a single sovereign roof.
All right, you're welcome to the program this evening, and we are going to start the analysis. It's exactly 47 minutes, analyzing the verdict of Onyendu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu for the very first time. Here we go. First of all, before we go into the analysis of the verdict, I want you to understand, I want to explain to the Biafra people for the very first time the impunity against our leader and against Biafra people. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was discharged. Normally, in the state of Nigeria, when court pronounced anybody discharged, that person should walk away from the court. And if the security agencies have anything against the person again, after the person have walked away from the court, they can now come up with whatever they feel they have against the person that was not included in the charges that the court discharged the person, or that the person was charged to court. That did not happen in the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And that is a violation of the Nigerian Constitution. That's a violation of his right. And that is a violation with impunity. When the court discharged him, they did not let him walk away, which is the right that they have given to every other Nigerians. But when it comes to him, they didn't respect that right. Two is that after the court discharged him, they detained him for 8 days illegally before they filed their next application to whatever court they filed it. It took them 8 days of abuse of power. So what it means is that after court discharged Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the Nigerian government and the Fulani, they didn't do nothing. They waited for 8 days again after they detained, tortured him for 8 days in Kenya. They still come back to Nigeria, disobey their court, and allow him to languish for 8 days without any document anywhere, without any charges against him, without any case against him for 8 days, just because they have the power and they have key where they can lock somebody up. I want you to be able to understand the impunity of Nigeria government. So for the 8 days before they filed in their next application, there were nothing against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They just locked him up because they have the right to do that. So these are the fundamental issues that I want Biafrans to know, because some of you don't know these things. So the one fundamental issue is that in Nigeria law, when you are discharged, you are to walk away from that court until there is another issue or case against you. It didn't happen. And even when they did not let him walk away from the court, it took them 8 days before they filed their next application. Now let us go to the verdict. I want to read and analyze the verdict. in Court of Appeal of Nigeria, Abuja Judicial Division, holding at Abuja on Thursday, the 13th day of October 2022. And you see the justice. I want to justice, Honorable Justice Umai Hanatu Sanke, Honorable Justice Dulotun Adeope Okoje, Honorable Justice Ebowe Tobi. Case between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, appellant, and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, respondent. Judgment delivered by Oludotun Adefoke Okoje. This is an appeal against part of the decision of the Federal High Court, Abuja Judicial Division, delivered on the 8th day of April 2022 by His Lordship Honorable Justice BFM Nyako, in which the court hereafter referred to as the lower court, trial court. In its ruling on the case, the appellate preliminary objection seeking the quashing dismissal of the 15-count amended charges referred against appellant against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu retained count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15 of the amended charges filed on the 17th of January 2022, while striking out count 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 9, 14 of the same. The appellant, dissatisfied with the part of the decision of the lower court, retaining count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15, filed a 5-ground notice of appeal on the 29th of April 2022. Subsequent to the transmission of the record of appeal to the court on the 15th of June 2022, his counsel, Chief Mike Ezekome, SAL San, filed an appellant brief of argument on 20th of June 2022, in which 5 issues were distilled for the court determination, namely, whether the lower court properly evaluated and ascribed probative value to the appellant evidence, when it failed to make finding of fact, and accordingly pronounce on issue 1 raised for the trial court, determination relating to the extraordinary rendition of the appellant. 2, whether the lower court has the jurisdiction to try the appellant for alleged offenses committed in vacuum or which site was not stated. Remember that this was the one the criminal is filing against Simon Ekpa. There's something he is fighting against here. Okay. 3, whether the appellant can be prosecuted for an offense which its validity is the subject matter of an appeal. 4, whether the lower court has the jurisdiction to try the appellant for an alleged offenses committed outside its territorial jurisdiction. Are you people following? That is number 4. Number 5, whether the appellant can be tried for offenses which the proof of evidence in support thereof does not disclose a prima facie case against him. In response, D.E. Casway, Assistant Chief State Counsel of the Department of Public Prosecution, Federal Ministry of Justice, on behalf of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, filed the respondent brief of argument on the 3rd day of August 2022, but deemed properly filed by this court on the 13th September 2022 upon counsel application. The issue formulated by the appellant Land Council were adopted by the respondent council in the respondent brief of argument. In response, the appellant council filed an appellant reply brief on the 25th of August 2022, consequentially deemed as properly filed on 13th of September 2022. I shall accordingly adopt the issue for determination formulated by the appellant. Brief fact of the case. The appellant is the defendant in charge number this, that, wherein a 4-count amended charges was pending against him. However, upon his rendition from Kenya to Nigeria, on the 27th day of June 2021, and I want people to understand that the Nigeria court used the word rendition. Okay? In the judgment of Nigeria court used the word rendition from Kenya to Nigeria on the 27th day of June, which means the only thing missing is extraordinary rendition. They have rendition Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria extraordinarily, and it is a confirmation here that Nigeria committed a crime. Of course, at least, even though we know it is true, but at least they acknowledge that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was renditioned and not extradited. There is a difference between rendition and extradition. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was not extradited. Just like the Attorney General of Nigeria was addressing Nigerians and his caliphate when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was forcefully kidnapped from Kenya. You know, his right was abused and they dragged him and renditioned him to Nigeria. Attorney General was giving a public address, press briefing, informing the world that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been extradited to Nigeria. That was the word he used. I want you people to understand the impunity where this is law. He was misinforming after committing international crime to the Nigeria public that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been extradited to Nigeria through the help of some security, whatever agencies, the collaboration. What he used was the word collaborating with other security agencies. He has been extradited to Nigeria. And the court, and this is Attorney General, who should know better than judges. Now, the judge, they have used rendition in their verdict, the wording of their verdict. So the Attorney General, if it is in a same country by now, should be facing some kind of disciplinary measures because it shows the highest level of incompetency coming publicly to lie and mislead the public that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was extradited. He was not extradited, rather, it was extraordinary rendition. So I want you to understand there is difference between extradition and rendition. These are two different words and two different meanings. Now, he used extradition while addressing Nigeria public, while the judges are now using the right word, which is rendition. So, and that is the crime that Nigeria have committed against the national community, against the UN, and the UN have mandated them to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and give them 6 months. They have not released him. And we cannot allow Nigeria to conduct election in our land with such impunity. What are you voting? What are you validating Nigeria for? Why would you go and validate Nigeria so you can be subjected to this kind of impunity? Why would you validate these people? Why would you validate an evil entity that kidnapped somebody from Kenya, came and addressed Nigerians that they have extradited him, while it was not an extradition? And now, court is giving a verdict that he was renditioned and discharged him, yet they refused. And you want to go into election to validate such entity? I think you people must be mad. For those who are preaching, of course, I know Biafran people are not going to try it, because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for the Biafran people. And you cannot betray him to this extent of validating the system, the power have deprived his right and abused his right with impunity. Going to vote going to even talk about following P2B is the highest betrayal that God can ever forgive you, because you want to go and validate the entity that have abused his right, abused the right of other Biafrans, and you want to go and validate them in the name of P2B. I want everybody to listen to this. So we have been able to see that Nigeria court used rendition from Kenya. Upon his rendition from Kenya to Nigeria on the 27th days of June 2021, he was brought before the lower court on the 29th day of June 2021. Do you people understand that even when they brought him to Nigeria, they still detained him for 2 days before they present him to the court, from 27th to 29th. A 7-count amended charges was filed against him by the respondent on the 13th October 2021. And you see where I have you see where I am very angry. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped in Kenya. He was detained for 8 days in Kenya. Nobody knows. They brought him to Nigeria, and they detained him and tortured him for another extra 2 days. Nobody knows. Not even those who claim that they are Ndiigbo in DSS alerted anybody that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is in Nigeria for the first day. None of them. None of Ndiigbo, all these people, alerted anybody that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been brought back to Nigeria until he appeared in the court. It was a slap. It was an insult to the highest level. One of all these people who claim to be Ndiigbo, who claim to want to have election now, that they want Nigeria. None of them could alert Biafrans that they kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, he's in Nigeria, until they brought him to court. And then somebody will open mouth. Oh, that is intelligent. Now, let us continue. They responded on the 13th October 2021 and later amended on the 20th October 2021. These charges was further amended to a 15-count charge on the 17th of January 2022. Upon being served, the appellant on the 19th day of January 2022 filed a notice of preliminary objection challenging the jurisdiction of the lower court to try him on the 15-count amended charge. The lower court, in its ruling, delivered on the 8th day of April 2022, struck out count 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and the retained count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15 of the amended charges. It is this ruling against which the appellant have appealed. Now, the first issue for determination is whether the lower court properly evaluated and ascribed probative value to the appellant evidence when it failed to consider, make finding of fact, and accordingly pronounce on issue 1 raised for the trial court determination relating to the extraordinary rendition of the appellant. Are you people listening? The appellant submission, the land silk for the appellant submit that the appellant was abducted from Kenya and extraordinarily rendered to Nigeria without being first subjected to the extradition processing in Kenya. They have used the word again in this, which is validating the impunity against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Biafrans. Okay? They have used it here, complete, extraordinarily rendered to Nigeria without being first subjected to extradition proceedings in Kenya, in violation of extant international convention and treaties, as submitted before the lower court. He could choose not be arraigned and tried on the 15-count amended charge, having not properly brought before the court. He contended that the respondent in its affidavit, the evidence, did not challenge or controvert the fact of the appellant abduction or extraordinary rendition to Nigeria, nor did he lead credible and cogent evidence to show that the rendition of the appellant was lawful and in accordance with due process of law, and all international instrument which burdens was on it, being the arresting authority. He cited Government of Kaduna State versus Maikori 2020 and others. The lower court was thus in error to have upheld the submission of the respondent counsel that the bench warrant earlier issued by the trial court was sufficient authority to abduct the appellant from Kenya, as the Administrative of Criminal Justice Act of 2015, upon which they relied, does not authorize the execution of a warrant of arrest by the Federal High Court outside Nigeria. Are you people seeing the argument? Now, the whole thing lies on the extraordinary rendition. So why are they denying, why are they still detaining Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? I want you to also listen to this. He submitted the unlawful and extraordinary rendition without any form of hearing or due process is in violation of the plethora of international laws to which the respondent is a state party, inclusive of Article 9 and 14 of the International Covenant on Human Rights and Human and Political Rights, Article 12.4 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement Act Cap 9, 2004, Article Part 5A of the African Charter, Principle and Guidelines on Human and Principal Rights, while countering terrorism in Africa, and Article 13 of the UDHR 1984. Section 15 of the Extradition Act, Cap E25 Laws of the Federal of Nigeria 2004, he said, prohibit the appellant from either being detained, tried, or otherwise dealt with in Nigeria for or in respect of the offense allegedly committed by him before his surrender to Nigeria. The lower court, thus, does not have jurisdiction to try him on count retained by it, having been allegedly committed by the appellant before his forceful rendition and surrender to Nigeria. He cited in support British, American, and South Africa authority, submitting that prosecuting the forcibly abducted appellant on these amended charges would be allowing them to benefit from their illegality. I want people to understand what is going on. This is a country that their own law prohibits the state to go and kidnap somebody. And you want to campaign to go and validate such law, to validate such impunity, to validate such people again, to validate such entity, such government that does not have law. So that tomorrow, another of your brother, they will go to Kenya and abduct another brother, and then you will be saying, but you voted them, but you are the one who voted them. Look at, since 2015, you voted these people into power. They have killed over 40,000 Biafrans. Are you aware of that? Because of your vote, because of your validity, validating this impunity, we have lost 40,000 people from 2015 to 2022. Because of the impunity of Nigeria, because you validated them in 2015. From then to now, we have over 10,000 Biafra people that are now illegally being detained. Just that they are illegally detaining Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today. Those ones is that they don't even take them to court. They just pick them, put them in different cell and detention facilities across Nigeria. We have about 10,000 people. And they want to go out again to validate this impunity. From 2015 to 2022, we have over 7,000 Biafrans, young men missing. They are missing. Nobody can account for them. Some of them were killed and thrown into the river. Some of them were killed and thrown into the swamp. Some of them were killed and burnt. And you want to now rise up as a Biafran to go and validate it by voting the same people that have committed these crimes against humanity and against your own people. We can never allow that to happen. This is what we are fighting against. And let us continue. The Land Silk further submitted that the failure of the lower court to pronounce on the issue of extraordinary rendition of the appellant, which was properly raised before it in the appellant preliminary objection, is a gross violation of appellant right to fair hearing, citing the case of Dazuki versus FRN and ORS. Now ask yourself, why did they ignore the extraordinary rendition issue, which was raised in the lower court? Just because of impunity. The Assistant Chief State Counsel, in a combined response to issue 1 and 2 formulated by the appellant, commenced by alluding to interlocutory application filed by the appellant, which he alleged had delayed the speedy hearing of the matter. Contrary to the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2005, he submitted that the issue of whether the appellant was properly brought before the trial court as a matter to be established during the course of the trial and not at this preliminary stage is at the right that the law forbid a court from delving into substantive matters when considering a preliminary objection, citing the case of Attorney General of the Federation versus AG Abia State 2001 and so on. Appellant reply brief. The Land Silk accused the respondent counsel of failing to address the issue of the extraordinary rendition of the appellant and the jurisdiction of the lower court to entertain the amended charges against the appellant, which must be determined first before the court can assume jurisdiction to entertain the matter. This fact, not having been controverted, cannot connote concession of the same, citing Order 19 Rule 42 of the Court of Appeal, Rule 2021, Adeyeye and OS versus Governor Ekiti State and Co. Now, the appellant, this is what we call the jurisprudence, okay? Relying on previous decided cases. At the hearing of the appeal on 13th September 2022, the Land Silk reiterated his submission on the duty of lower court to have struck out the count, retained having been filed illegally without following the due process of the law and without the authority and the consent of the Kenya authority, as these counts were allegedly committed before appellant forceful rendition from Kenya to Nigeria. He cited, in addition, the case of Ezeze versus State 2004 and Co. Then the respondent, which is Nigeria State, the Assistant Chief State Counsel, urging the court to dismiss the appeal, reiterated that the appellant was brought in by due process of law. Can you imagine? Nigeria is responding to court that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was brought in by due process of law in an extraordinary rendition case. Can you understand the impunity? Respondent is saying that, claiming that Mazi Nnamdi brought in by due process of law. How do you argue that? Kidnapping somebody has become a due process of law? Is that what you want to go with? Saying you want to go and vote P2B? Is that what all these satanic reverend fathers that are having meeting here and there, in the name of P2B is a Christian, in the name of P2B is a Catholic? Is that why they are going to validate such impunity where a kidnapping case has become, a process of law? And he's citing 534 and 5, the Administrative of Criminal Justice Act Supra, with respect to the extradition treaty. Now, resolution. I want everybody to listen. The notice of preliminary objection filed by the appellant, the resolution in part of which has led to the filing of this appeal, is at page 137 of the record. The preliminary objection sought the following: an order striking out, quashing, and or dismissing the 15-count amended charges, specifically count 1 to 15 preferred against the defendant applicant in the amended charge number this, that, for the reason that the count as constituted are incompetent and thus deprive the Honorable Court of the jurisdiction to entertain the same. 2. An order of the Honorable Court discharging and acquitting the defendant applicant of all the count in the 15-count amended charges referred against the defendant applicant upon the same being struck out, quashed, and or dismissed. 3. And for such further order or orders as this Honorable Court may deem fit to make in the circumstances. The ground for the objection are 34 and complain about the incompetence of the ground, the failure of the respondent to comply with international treaties on terrorism, and the contravention of the International Convention and treaties on extradition, thus divesting the lower court of jurisdiction to entertain the charges. The 39-paragraph affidavit in support and the further affidavit, in addition to deposing to the incompetence on the ground, also deposed the extraordinary rendition of the appellant from Kenya by the respondent. In the 20-paragraph counter affidavits of the respondent at the page 159 to 181 of the record, the charges were stated to be competent. The lower court, in its ruling on the page 267 to 285 of the record, set out the preliminary objection of the appellant, the ground thereof, and the content of the affidavit in support of the preliminary objection. It also set out the counter affidavit of the respondent, referred to the further affidavit of the appellant, as well as the written address of both parties. The court then proceeded to examine the 15 count upon which the appellant was arraigned to see if they disclosed the commission of any offense known to law. Now, here we go. It held itself not concerned with whether the count of the charge disclose any prima facie case, but whether they are well framed within the provision of the law. It held that count 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 have not disclosed an offense as framed, and some are even duplicate. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15 show some sublane of allegation of offense on which the court can proceed to trial. Consequently, the count 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are hereby struck out, and the count shall proceed on trial on count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15. The 7 charges retained by the lower court out of 15 count amended charges are following. Count 1, that you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, male, adult of Afaraukwu, Umuahia, North Local Government Area of Abia State, sometime in 2021, being a member and the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, a proscribed organization, did commit an act in furtherance of an act of terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria by making a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria within the jurisdiction of this honorable court with intent to intimidate the population, and you threaten that people will die, the whole world will stand still, and you thereby committed an offense punishable under section 12B of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Count 2, that you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, male, adult of Afaraukwu, Umuahia, North Local Government Area of Abia State, sometime in 2021, did commit an act in furtherance of an act of terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, made a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria within the jurisdiction of this honorable court with intent to intimidate an population. You issued a deadly threat that everyone who flouted your sit-at-home order should right his or her way. As a result, banks, schools, market, shopping were not open for businesses. Citizen and vehicular movement in the eastern state of Nigeria were grounded within the jurisdiction of this honorable court, and you hereby committed an offense punishable under section whatever terrorism prevention. And we are going to use sit at home to bring him out. We are going to use sit at home. Sit at home is not a crime. We are going to use it to bring Mazi Nnamdi Kanu out. Let us see how they are going to drag people out this coming week to come and vote. Everybody will sit at home. Biafra people, are you reading it? Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is being detained because people sat at home in protest against the killing by the Nigeria terrorist police, because each time we come out to protest, they kill us. We decided to sit at home. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu called for sit at home. That's why he is languishing in DSS dungeon. And you are now parading yourself that you want to go and vote. You must sit at home. It is what you have to do for the price that he has paid from the torture, kidnapping, all manner of dehumanizing treatment, inhuman treatment meted to him. And now we are going to use one stone to kill two birds. We are going to use this sit at home to bring Mazi Nnamdi Kanu out, and we're going to use this sit at home to fight for Biafra. Count 3, that you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, male, adult of Afaraukwu, Umuahia, North Local Government Area of Abia State, on a devised date between 2018 and 2021, within the jurisdiction of this honorable court, profess yourself to be a member and leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a proscribed organization in Nigeria, and you hereby committed an offense contrary to and punishable under Section 16 in the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013. Count 4, that you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, male, adult, and Afaraukwu, Umuahia, North Local Government Area of Abia State, on a advanced date between 2018 and 2021, made a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria within the jurisdiction of this honorable court in furtherance of an act of terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, in which you incite members of the public in Nigeria to hunt and kill Nigerian security personnel, and that you thereby committed an offense punishable under Section this and Terrorism Prevention Act. Count 5, that you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, male, adult of Afaraukwu, Umuahia, North Local Government Area of Abia State, the vast date between 2018 and 2021, made a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria within the jurisdiction of this honorable court of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, in which you, members of the public in Nigeria, to hunt and kill family of the Nigeria security personnel, and that you hereby committed an offense punishable under Section 123 of the Terrorism Act and Amended Act of 2013. Count 8, that you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, male, adult, Faruku, Abia North Local Government, Umuahia North Local Government Area, Abia State, on the vast date between 2018 and 2021, made a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria within the jurisdiction of this honorable court in furtherance of an act of terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, in which you directed members of the indigenous people of Biafra, Biafra, a proscribed organization, to manufacture bombs, and you thereby committed an offense punishable under Section 123 of Terrorism Prevention Act 2013. Count 15. That you, Mazen and the Kano male adult Afaroku, Umahia, not local government area of Abia State, on the device date between the month of March and into Nigeria and kept in Bulizo Ihala in Ibulisuzo, Ihala local government area of Anambra State, within the jurisdiction of this Honorable Court, radio transmitter known as tram-so, concealed in a container of used household item which you declared as a used household item, and you thereby committed an offense contrary to Section 47 of the Criminal Code and laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004. Now, the contention of the land silk is that the lower court has no jurisdiction to entertain these charges by reason of the fact that the appellant was extraordinary extradition from Kenya and without the process of extraditing him by the respondent. The Assistant Chief State Counsel for the respondent, however, contend that the question of whether the appellant was properly brought before the trial court, is a matter to be established during the course of the trial and not at a preliminary stage, as would be delving into a substantive matter at an interlocutory stage. It is thus necessary, before going into the merit of the appeal, to determine this contention of the respondent. It is indeed settled law that the court, in determining the interlocutory application or the issue of jurisdiction, should refrain from delving into or determining the issue of controversy in the substantive suit before deciding whether jurisdiction to entertain the entire proceeding. And then see this Akinremisi versus MEC, Nigeria Limited, 2013, and so on. In the case of James versus INEC, Supra, cited by the respondent counsel, one of the issue that the court was required to determine in the of the 26th April was cancelled, abandoned, or postponed. The court held that the determination of whether the election was cancelled and in new election schedule would knock the bottom out of the case. It would thus be wrong for the court to determine in determining the issue of jurisdiction to delve into one of the issue in controversy in the suit to determine some before deciding whether or not it has jurisdiction to entertain the entire proceeding. In the instant case, however, the rendition of the appellant from Kenya to Nigeria is not an issue to be determined in the substantive case before the lower court. The substantive suit is for the determination of the culpability of the appellant for the retained 7 out of the amended 15 count upon which he was arraigned. 2. Determining whether the appellant was illegally rendered to this country and which illegality divested the lower court of jurisdiction to entertain the charges against him does not amount to a determination of the substantive suit at the interlocutory stage. I hold indeed, as was held by the same land jurist, Kere Ekun GSC case of James versus INEC Supra at page 583-84, paragraph HA. It is clear that where a court lacks jurisdiction to entertain a cause or matter, it lacks jurisdiction to determine any issue arising within that cause or matter. This is the fact. To attempt to do so would amount to delving into the merit of the case, which would amount to the nullity in the event that the court lacks jurisdiction to determine the suit. Now we are going to go straight to the pronouncement. I think that is the most important thing, because this is quite kind of a long, a long verdict. So let us go to the pronouncement, the judgment of the court, so that you all will understand. But at least what we have been able to establish now is that with the argument we have read so far, the issue of extraordinary rendition has rendered any trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu useless. That is one. And so what is he still doing there in the DSS? And you want to go and validate a system as corrupt as this, where the courts have no power. So we are going straight to the judgment of the court. Moment. And this is the problem. So you want to go and start validating a country like this. That have no rule of law. Impunity, where impunity is celebrated. They kidnap him because of sit at home. They are going to also release him because of sit at home. I want you people to understand that they kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because of sit at home, and they are going to release him also because of sit at home. Ageji Akpo Hishi. Now you see that the case is well, detailed. Well detailed. I'm getting there very soon. All right, so I think we have to start from here and then read it to the end. All right, let us start from here. So the pronouncement, and let us start from here. Let me state that in trial before the Federal High Court, proof of evidence is not necessary, as summary trial is acceptable, and a record said, in my opinion, a court will not have to dig into the proof of evidence to determine whether it can proceed to hearing, provided the charge is competent and it discloses an offense known to law. Indeed, even if the accused is charged under a wrong law, the court will still proceed to try the accused provided the fact discloses offense known to the law. See Amowo versus this and that. And then all that is required at this stage is that the charge must disclose an offense. I have looked at the proof of evidence. I cannot agree the appellant counsel that the proof of evidence does not disclose anything connecting to appellant to the offenses he is charged with. To that extent, issue 5 is resolved in favor of respondent. On the whole, out of the 5 issues, I resolve issue 1 and 4 in favor of the appellant, while issue 2, 3, and 5 in favor of respondent. Generally, the appellant is supposed to go back for trial on count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8, excluding count 15. This, however, is not legal position, particularly because issue 1 has been resolved in favor of the appellant. By resolving issue 1 in favor of the appellant, it is my finding that the lower court has no jurisdiction to try the appellant for the offenses he is charged with, because his extradition from Kenya did not comply with international law. Are you hearing it? That the lower court did not have the right to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because of the rendition from Kenya in breach of international law, treaties, and domestic laws in Nigeria. The order that a court can make in the circumstances which my learned brother has ably made in the leading judgment is to strike out the count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15. Now, the question you should be asking yourself now is that if this court have now agreed that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu cannot be tried by this lower court because of the extraordinary rendition, so which court is going to try him? Which means there is no court that is going to try him in Nigeria. So why are you now still detaining him? And I want you to understand that it is now not about court. It is not about the law. It is not about the rule of law anymore. It is now who become the president is power. It is not about power. So Nigeria have no rule of law. How do you validate a system like that? A system that doesn't have rule of law. And they will tell you, oh, vote this one in. When he come, he will now release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And you know that is a lie. It is completely a lie. So they want to use Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to do business in politics. They say, oh, let us hold him. Let us use it. And some people have been brainwashed. Oh, if P2B will win. When P2B win, he will release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And we know that P2B is not winning. Today, they have what they did was that they thought that they were thinking that they deceive us. We know that P2B was coming to distract Biafra struggle. Now they have seen that it's like our position is not changing. They are decamping. They would if that we have succumbed to these criminals at the dying minute, all the Northerners would decamp to APC or to PDP. That is their game. We know them. We study them like book. And this thing happening now have happened before during Awolowo and Zik. At the dying minute, all of them would decamp to one place, and P2B and his group will become used and dumped. You can't cheat us again. We are wiser. We are wiser. We are wiser now. So let us continue. So what it means is that this court ruled that no court have the jurisdiction to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because of the extraordinary rendition. So holding him and continue to detain him, what is the motive? If the court in Nigeria have decided that because of the extraordinary rendition, nobody should try him, what are you holding him for? To do what? And today, we know that they have refused to even give date of another trial because they know you can't try him. It is only to validate impunity, and we will not agree. You must release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu before this election. I'm going to surprise all of you. And then, having held that the lower court had no jurisdiction. Are you hearing that? having held the lower court had no jurisdiction to try the appellant based on the reason given in the leading judgment by my learned brother, and stated in this judgment, the order this court can make is to strike out the count the lower court retained, which is the substance of this appeal. So, because the lower court do not have the jurisdiction to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the remaining one that lower court retain, they have to strike it out. Okay, which means after striking it out, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, should not stand in front of any court again. Now, the lower court retain. The law is clear and certain that when a court lacks jurisdiction, the appropriate order to make is to strike out the case and not dismissal. Are you hearing it? Now, I want you to understand that this is a case which has become, it's a jurisprudence, the case that have been decided in Nigeria court. Ejiofor went to the court. And the court, after they file another case against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Ejiofor went to the court without document, without bag, but with books. With books, he went to the court deliberately because he was working with the politicians and governors. And Ejiofor was in the court knowing the content of this decision, could not defend Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And the court now adjourned the case they filed against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Adjourned it. Why would you adjourn a case when you don't have jurisdiction to try such case? Adjourning the case amounts to having the jurisdiction. Okay? Now you have already an outstanding order, what we call the jurisprudence from this appeal court, which have said that because of the rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, you don't have the right, the jurisdiction to try him. Ejiofor was standing in the court, and another judge now override this particular decision, which says you can't try a person that you committed international crime to rendition. That they are going to adjourn the case. Ejiofor was standing there, and they actually adjourned the case, which already means that the court have already tried the case for even adjourning it in the first place. You don't adjourn the case, you do not have the right to, you don't have the jurisdiction over. Why do you have to? So the wording here is that where Ejiofor was defending Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, like deceiving himself, he should have said to the judge, because that is the exact argument here. Since you don't have jurisdiction from the other court, since you don't have jurisdiction, why are you adjourning the case? You don't have to adjourn case that you don't know, you don't have jurisdiction to hear. What you have to do is that you strike it out until there is a new charges, and whether they have to now reinvestigate it again, whether you have jurisdiction or not. Ejiofor was standing there, they adjourned the case because they were planning how to arrest Mazi Nnamdi Kanu the second time. It was a plan between Ejiofor, Peter Obi, and co. Today, they have seen her. So I want you to understand that this is the court verdict, where the court categorically stated it very clear that you can't try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So the question I'm asking you today, shouting Peter Obi, those of you shouting, we are not against the election, that was standing behind Mazi Nnamdi Kanu while he was here. You push him today, they kidnap him, all of you turn to something else. You are now shouting, oh, let us go. No, we don't care about election. Let the election people go and vote. To validate this impunity, to validate this evil, God will never forgive you for the betrayal you have, the way you betrayed the struggle, betrayed the freedom of the people, and betrayed this Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that all of you have followed for many years. So the point I'm trying to make here is that because of the violation of the Nigeria, including the court, for even adjourning a case that they don't have jurisdiction to try, our sit at home is going to enter, on the highest level in the coming days. It is a protest against the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It is a protest for the freedom of Biafra. You sit at home and no election is not to, is so that we are not going to validate a system as bad as what I'm reading and analyzing here. If you go out to vote, you are voting this impunity. If you go out to vote, you are giving them right to continue to deprive your right. If you go to vote, you are giving Nigeria the right to kill you. Just as they have been killing other Nigerians that are protesting Yoruba land in everywhere. If you go to vote, it means that you welcome the impunity. You welcome where the judge say the court don't have right to try you and they will still detain you for no reason. That is what you are validating. And that's why we are saying for us that are now, we are civilized, because I'm civilized here and watch all of you dying like that, like people that have nobody. You have somebody in us. That's why we are talking. Because if you talk in that place, they kill you. So those of you that are behaving like Mumu, we understand, because that is what you are. Everybody is scared to talk. If you talk, you say, please don't mention my name more. And I want to ask priests and the Reverend Fathers. Some of them are having meeting. And you know the meeting they are having? The meeting they are having is I want to read one of the message from a Reverend Father. I'm going to post it. I want to read it. This is my personal opinion. The presidential election is just a few days from now. You may have heard about Simon Ekpa and his group terrorizing the whole of Southeast with the devilish slogan, no election in the Southeast. Now that our liberation is very near. Can you imagine? Somebody who is supporting P2B is telling you that P2B is his liberation as a priest. Now that our liberation is very near, the devil wants to use such a greedy person like Simon Ekpa to destabilize us. We must resist him. Let us liberate our people from his stranglehold of dubious and selfish individuals who are working against the poor masses. Can you listen to a priest who are working against poor masses? The days are counted, but God has provided us with two great opportunities: Ash Wednesday and Friday, Stations of the Cross. The 2 days are very close to 25th February, presidential election day. The positive effect shall be punchy. Don't miss this opportunity to enlighten and encourage our people. More so, as the gospel of today's say, this type of devil is cast out only through fasting and prayer. Let these two great weapons of Christian welfare be deployed by every priest and Christian. May God give us a new Nigeria. Can you imagine? May God give them a new Nigeria. While people are building, God is giving you. That is the mentality of a stupid person. A prayer come practical request from an auxiliary. He called himself an auxiliary bishop of Enugu, his lordship, Most Reverend Ernest Obodo. The Sabo Kanko, the Sabos are many. This one is another Bishop Onaga. He called himself auxiliary bishop of Enugu, his Lord Most Reverend Ernest. I do not know. When did Enugu people become this bad? We don't know Enugu people to be this. Are this priest and bishop from Enugu, or are they coming from a different place to serve in Enugu? Because all the bishops in Enugu are just a devil incarnate. I'm telling you, we've talked about Bishop Onaga, and now we are talking about another Bishop, Ernest, praying to God to bring him to Nigeria. So tell this bishop, auxiliary. I don't know whether, I don't know the auxiliary one. Is it the auxiliary verb or the auxiliary that you use in the car? I don't know. I don't know. Is it the auxiliary verb or the auxiliary that is, the propelling the car? We need to know. Auxiliary. There is no name you can't hear. Only in Nigeria that you see a bishop naming himself auxiliary bishop. I don't know what it means in Catholic. I didn't know that they have auxiliary as a bishop name. I'm going to publish it. So tell this auxiliary Alphonse that we have seen the message on or here. And I will publish the message. There is no hiding place. Any place you publish anything, you post anything, in your forum, I am there. In your WhatsApp group, I am there. When I don't want to hear, I don't want to get it, I don't get. Once I want to get, I am in all your forum. You can't hide from me. It is only the one I don't want to get, I don't get it. So tell this Bishop Ernest Auxiliary, Enugu, Reverend Ernest Obodo, that I have his message here. Abagom him. So let him continue to fight against Biafra. Nigeria get Chetia. Nigeria will remember him. And when we are saying we want to be free, it is not only Biafra that is going to be free this year. A lot of nations will break. Nigeria is going to break into pieces. And we, the Biafra people, are going to make it possible. I am telling you now, it is not a hidden thing. It is going to happen this year. Those of you who are planning to have election in 2023, which is next month, you are going to fail. We will disappoint you and you disappoint yourself. All right, you're welcome back. So we continue. In the circumstances, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15 are struck out. That is the reasonable conclusion I can reach in the circumstances. Did you hear that? This invariably means that the decision of the lower court cannot stand and therefore it is set aside. Did you hear that? Even the decision of the lower court was even completely set aside. The appellant, in addition to seeking for an order to allow the appeal and setting aside the ruling of the lower court, has asked specifically as a relief that the appellant be discharged. Are you hearing that? The appellant be discharged. The court is not only a court of law, but also a court of justice. In the lower court, count 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 were struck out. Now, this court has struck out the count the lower court retained. That count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 15. The implication of this is that there is no charge against the appellant. There is no charge against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Are you hearing it? Yet, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still under dungeon. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still under dungeon. Court to say there is no charge against the applicant, against the appellant. This means there is no charge hanging on his head as at today. Are you hearing it? As at today. And it took these people 8 days, extra 8 days, illegally detaining Mazi Nnamdi Kanu before they filed another additional application to court. They are appealing it. In the circumstances, it is difficult to grant the order to discharge him. I believe not, since in law, one cannot place something on something that expects it to stand. In the present reality of no charge hanging on the head of the appellant, I am also comfortable as decided by my learned brother to discharge the appellant for the reasons above, and much more for fuller reason in the leading judgment by the learned brother, Honorable Justice Oludotun Adepo Kedo Okoje. Allow this appeal setting aside the ruling of the lower court delivered on the 8th of April 2022. I cannot but abide by the consequential order made by my learned brother to discharge the appellant on the charges profiled against him in the amended charges on 17, this, that, and that. Are you people see? Do you people hear that? So the question now is that if you know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, this is it. This is for the first time you are seeing reading. You see me reading the verdict of the court. Now the question is, when a court, appeal court, have confirmed that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu cannot be tried because of the way he was kidnapped and brought to Nigeria, why is he still being detained? Why do you still detain Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? And you want people to go out and validate impunity like that? Why?
Assalamu alaikum. What is Nnamdi Kanu still doing in the DSF's custody? An order has been given from the court to the government that Nnamdi Kanu should be returned back to Kenya and he should be compensated with a sum of 500 million naira, but he is still in their custody. Why? Why? Has Nigeria gotten to a level that we don't have laws any longer? We don't abide by the rules and regulations given to us? If we are to break these rules, oh, what a pity to us. But now, it's for the government to do what is right, but they are not. Instead, discrimination, tribalism, ethnicity has become the order of the day for them. And I don't know what they are putting in the minds of the Southeast and the Northerners. Because we, the Northerners, are the ones being affected. Why? Because the people ruling us are from the North. I blame them. See, there is no way I will blame the Southeast if they think of having their own nation, with the way things are going, with the way our governments are taking things in on serious. Let me say it that way. If you are making us look, I never for once loved the Southeast. The only thing I had for them then was hatred, but I came to realize that this is not how it's supposed to be. Then let the government do what is right. If an order has been given, an order is an order. Let's abide, let's go by that order. Not bringing in discrimination, bringing our tribalism into our mind. Oh, come on. That is not what we are out for. And that is why we will keep fighting till what we are looking for is achieved. Please, this man should be returned back to Kenya because he was kidnapped to this place. If I was being kidnapped, I would not be happy about it too. Let me be realistic and let me be sincere about it. Please, my viewers, share this video. Let it go viral so that all citizens, all masses of this country will see it, because Nigeria is no longer a lawful state or a lawful country any longer. We have rules and regulations. Let's go by that. Let's abide by it. An order is an order, like I said. And we, the Northerners, we want to be our brother's keeper. We don't want the Southeast to see us as if we are the enemies. We don't want to be their enemy, and we don't want them to be our enemy also. So let the government do what is appropriate. Please and please share this video so it go viral.
Simon, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
So much is riding on this election, especially for young people in Nigeria. They're desperate for change, is my view. Why are you so determined to undermine democracy?
I think undermining democracy is not the right word. Rather, promoting democracy. You give the people a choice. And the choice of the Biafra people is a referendum. It is also a democratic process. So that is not undermining a democracy. More accepted democratic process is when you give the people choice to decide their fate.
But they have a choice. This is an election which will be following democratic laws.
In Nigeria, Biafran people do not have a choice. And that is a historical problem created by the Britain. So everybody, As you have been a journalist with your experience and the history of Nigeria, you agree with me that Nigeria is a mistake because of the tribal and dangerous diversity in Nigeria, which is also a destructive diversity. So when you give the people the choice to choose how they want to live, that is a true democracy. A democracy is not when you bring in the military and invent communities, burn the communities because people are protesting. You kill them. Is that democracy? Do you do that in the United Kingdom? The answer is no.
But what about your role in all this? Your tweets.
My role.
Wait a minute. Your role in all this. Your tweets and your social media. Why the need for violence?
Yeah.
At least 1,500 people died in the last 3 presidential election campaigns.
Was it my fault then?
And there have been deaths so far in this one too.
That's what we want to correct by making sure we do not continue to validate an evil entity that subject their citizens to death. So the only solution to this is to disintegrate this evil entity and allow people to make their choice so that they can develop and, practice politics in the best way possible, just like the Europeans here.
So are you justifying the violence that comes from the kind of stuff that you...
It is not, the violence is not about what I do. It is the provocation of the policy of Nigeria, okay? So it is a long time bomb coming. So what you see happening now, Nigeria have a history of violence from the beginning of Nigeria. After independence, every election in Nigeria has witnessed violence. So it is a good guy to put an end, to have a lasting solution to the violence that have caused the life of thousands of Nigerians.
But do you not accept that some of the things that you say has engendered this kind of...
From your own perspective, you can translate it and interpret it however you want. But from my own perspective, I think I am the good guy trying to teach the people that they have a right.
So there's no blood on your hands?
There's no blood on my hand. There are more blood on those supporting the election, supporting this particular coming election. They have more blood in their hand. In Imo State, you have a governor that have invaded his own state, killed people, and why are you people not talking about that? Those are the people that have blood in their hand. All the people that have been elected in Nigeria since 1960 all have had bloods in their hands, and nobody is asking them question. I am just the good guy who say enough is enough. Somebody have to say something, and somebody have to do something, and we're doing it.
But couldn't you make more progress if you were in the tent, as it were, rather than out of the tent?
You can't.
In another country.
Sorry?
You're in Finland.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be better if you went back home and did the political thing there?
You should know. You see, I learn from what happened to others. I don't want to put my life in danger because the country, as far as I'm concerned, does not exist. Any country that does not respect the rule of law does not exist.
You're scared you might be killed?
Not everybody. You know that. You can say that as well. Yes.
But there's a bounty on
because
your head
yes, there's a bounty on my head because Nigeria, because of the Islamic agenda in Nigeria, whoever that rises up to say something that will, make the life of the people to be better, they want to kill the person. They assassinate people every day. And today you see that there is a video that has been released by a man called Ikenga Imo, when an assassin invaded his house and wanted to kill him. They are police officers. But if there is no CCTV, they will say unknown gunmen. These are the people that are causing all this crisis in Biafra land. But without that video, everybody has concluded that they are unknown gunmen. Today we have known them. What are the government doing about it? What are the international community doing about it? Every evidences that have surfaced anywhere about CCTV camera, it has always been security agent from the Nigerian state. Nobody is talking about that. That is what we are fighting against. We are defending ourselves and we have armed ourselves to fight Nigeria till the last day. We have done it before. The only difference now is that today we have social media. If social media was there in the 1960s, somebody will do what I'm doing today. In those days, we have a man called Okokondem. Okokondem was broadcasting for Radio Biafra and was propagating Biafra stuff, but because there were no social media, so he would have done even more than I'm doing today, I believe so. So this is what will make a difference. And my activities on social media is educating the people, telling them they are right, that you have a right to say no, and you have the right to say yes.
Who's funding you and your organisation?
Biafra people are funding my organization.
Not the Tinubu party.
I have nothing to do with Tinubu, and you know, it's very funny. A lot of people said Tinubu paid me 25 million. How is that possible? How is it possible?
You're denying he
I don't know who is Tinubu. I have never communicated with anybody close to him. Just like the way they forged the letter. The reason why this letter issue, Nigeria is a criminal country. They breed criminals, and that is what we're fighting against. The reason why the letter on gets sorted out easily and fast was because it was against Finland, and Finland have to officially react to the letter, and the letter went viral. There are so many lies against me out there on social media. Nobody could come and say it is not true. Okay, so that is, and those lies, when they continue to say it and maintain it, it becomes truth when nobody debunk it.
You talk about criminals. Do you think the candidates for the presidency are criminals?
They are all criminals. Yes, all of them.
Even Peter Obi.
Peter Obi is a criminal.
But he's a southerner, isn't he?
He doesn't. I am not a tribal. Listen, I'm not a tribalist. I'm not a tribalist, and that is what makes us different. We want. If I'm criticizing you, I criticize you with fact and figures. I'm going to tell you how all of them are. Do I explain? One, starting from Atiku. Atiku was indicted in the United States for money laundering. He's a criminal. How do you think if Nigeria is a United States, Atiku will come back and start contesting with the criminal record he has had for money laundering? Tinubu was indicted in the United States for drug pushing. The records are there. So it's criminal. Nigeria is being ruled by criminals, and they breed criminals. Peter Obi his name was in Pandora. He didn't deny it. It's also the part of money laundering, international money laundering crime. He has $15 million in offshore accounts.
But surely Obi, being a southerner, is on the side of your people.
That is the problem. Why must diversity that have brought us this far? Because it will never work. Everything about Nigeria is what favors my people. We want a Biafra where everything favors everybody. But when you have Nigeria, it is either Fulani. Now we don't even have Hausa anymore because Fulani have overshadowed them. So it is either you are fighting for Northerner as a Fulani Muslim, or you are fighting for Yorubas, or you are fighting for Igbo people. So how can you continue in that kind of system? This is why we must make sure. Again. So.
Would you stay there?
Yeah. No, no. Yeah, cool. It's a meter. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's my security. Yeah.
Right. What's your relationship with Mr. Kanu at the moment?
Kanu is the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, and I regard him as my leader.
Do you talk? Do you have contact with him?
Well, we communicate somehow, but that's a confidential issue.
Because you see, he's disavowed violence. He thinks he's made statements to say that
everybody condemn violence. I condemn violence. I have always condemned violence. On social media, maybe you don't follow that. But where is the violence coming? Who are those committing the violence? They are the Nigeria state. And their intention is to use violence to blackmail what we're doing. And of course, you do not expect people who are Nigerians who are angry, who have lost hope. And the next thing you see from them is when you are hopeless, you become violent. So what is happening now is not caused by anybody. It is caused by the system itself. And until we begin to understand that the violence happening in Nigeria is being generated by the Nigeria system itself, we will never be telling ourselves the truth.
Are you going to rein in your rhetoric a little bit now? Because
How?
We're in the election period. You know people hang on to your words, and it can cause some violence, can't it?
Well, I don't care. We are already at war. In Biafra side of Nigeria, there is a war going on there, and I don't know why medias are not covering it. Do you see a democratic place where the plane will be throwing bombs to the people? It's war. The Villages are getting burnt, houses are getting burnt. Even in Ukraine, where you go into now, the number of people dying in Biafra land outnumber the people dying in Ukraine. So how do you balance that? And who are doing this? The Nigeria themselves, the Nigeria state. You know, when the military comes to the village, instead of protecting the people, they get angry because they obey our orders and then they start burning the villages. So we don't want to continue like that. We want to have, the only solution to this is the disintegration of Nigeria. And if Nigeria do not disintegrate now, the disintegration later on will be very, very, very chaotic. It will be very hard before international community, if they continue to let us manage this and force people into election in Biafra land, when this time bomb is going to explode, it will affect everyone.
One last question.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the election?
Election is not happening in Biafra land.
Because you don't want people to vote?
Not me. Biafra have decided. I am telling you the fact. There is nothing that will make Biafran's people to go out and vote. This is a life and death matter. We have come a long way. For over 50 years, Nigeria have done all manner of genocide, committed genocide against our people, kill us every day, and you expect us to allow them to continue to kill us, to elect governors that will bring military and militarize our territory? We can't do that again.
That's 11 million votes, isn't it?
Nobody will vote in Biafra land. I am telling you the fact. It will shock the world. We've made up our mind and we know what we have on ground. Nobody will vote in. It is not undermining. No. This particular civil disobedience is also a democratic process. And I want you to see it in that perspective. When people say, I don't want, it is their choice. And if you think that there are people who want to vote that are bigger in number, conduct a referendum. As simple as that. For now, we control 90% of Biafra people. 90%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, you're welcome back. And we're going to open the line for just a few minutes call. We're going to call for the next 16 minutes, and we'll end this broadcast in 2 hours, 30 minutes. So the telephone line is open for your calls. Call us and let us hear your opinion on today's analysis. And here we go. You're welcome. You're welcome. The line is open, so let us hear your opinion. The next 15 minutes or 16 minutes, thereabout. We call it a day. We want to thank Biafrans for today's exceptional sit at home. The sit at home today was very exceptional. Everywhere was complete lockdown. And that's what we want to see in the coming days. You're welcome to the program. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Samuel.
Good evening from here.
I'm calling from the Kingdom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to acknowledge you. The name that I want to call you is Adanilendemo. Ada. But that actually so we are grateful with what you're doing. And I just want to say something about the allegation and the international media about inciting violence, and so call it hate speech. But they themselves, they have right to condemn Putin. They see Putin as an aggressor against Ukraine, which is their right to say so. It's not that we are supporting what Putin is doing, but Buhari and their government are terrorists against our people. They are detained against our people. So we have the right to call them names, whatever name that we choose to call them. The same way they have right to call Putin and Russia's name, whatever name they choose to call them. So when they refer Putin as a terrorist or Russia people as people who are violating the rights of Ukraine, to them it is not inciting violence. To them it is not to them it's not hate speech. But when you, the Biafra spokesperson, make call those who are causing afflictive pain to your people, they call it inciting violence and hate speech. I don't know where.
First of all, let me interject. First of all, nobody have accused me from Europe of inciting violence. I don't know where you are driving. Are you talking about the Russia TV?
No, I'm talking about the message, the interview that you had. I think the journalist was asking, don't you think that would...
Okay. You are referring to this. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, all right.
Because they themselves, they have their right to say whatever they want to say against Putin and against Russia.
Yes. But of course, we have addressed it, so, and it is out there. We're going to post the video for everybody to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Madam Azoka, where are you? Because I see that you have called. All right, we'll have like 12 minutes more to go. Okay, not answering. You're welcome to the program.
Good evening, Anna.
Yes, good evening. Welcome to the program.
I just want to say, God bless you, and I want to beg one thing to you, that Biafra coming after 26, and I want, when Biafra comes, I know that it will be in Biafra land.
Yes.
I want your hand to touch my head. I know that I can never come close to you. But when Biafra comes,
why not?
Remember, there's a God that wants your hand to touch his head, because I have never seen the type of a man like you. God bless you.
Bless you too. Don't worry. We are going to shake hands. We are going to shake hands. Definitely. Thank you.
Your hand will touch my head. I need the grace that God gives to you.
Thank you.
And announce it, I can be able to come close to you, because if you did not announce it, I can't be able to come close to you.
Don't worry. We are going to shake hands. Definitely. Thank you.
Amen.
All right, we continue. You're welcome to the program.
Hey, Agunam.
Ndewo.
Agunabo.
Ndewo.
Odogu.
Ndewo.
Odogu woke.
Ndewo.
Agụ a na-adụ egwu n'anya ọ na-aga n'iru.
Ndewo.
Ka igwe bụ ike.
Yes.
I just want to say I'm very proud of you. Biafrans are very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, son, the great son of Biafran.
Thank you.
God bless you
Bless
in
you
abundance.
Too. Bless you too.
We shall see the Biafra. It's already here.
Yes.
In just few days.
Exactly.
A few days to come.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Bless you
and
too.
Bless all the truthful Biafrans.
Amen. Thank
in
you.
The name
Amen. Yes, Madam Azuka, you're welcome.
Hey, Dragon himself.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. I'm so in fact you gave it to them. And you will keep giving it to them until they give us our rights, what we have, what with our own nation, and release Martin Nandikano.
Exactly.
They don't have any options. They have only two. Either to let us go or in peace, or we go in pieces.
Yes.
There is two ways about it.
Exactly.
Honestly, you are doing a marvelous job. We are with you 100 times, 100-fold, and 100%. You are giving it to them, Woto.
Yes.
This is Woto Pro Max. The whole world will hear it. Very soon, CNN will knock on your door. Don't worry yourself. Keep going, Dragon. We are with you 100-fold, okay?
Yes.
There is nothing that will make us to back down. There is nothing that will make us to stop. We are really focused and we are hitting it, and you will get us. Amazina Nikanu must be released. It's a non-negotiable term right now. So they must release Mazina Nikanu and they must give us Biafra because we don't have any options anymore.
Yes.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you very much.
Umada are with you.
Thank you. I appear go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome to the program.
Hello, good evening.
Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello, you're welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Samuel.
Good afternoon.
This is Solomon calling from the United States of America.
You're welcome to the program.
Ago Ekpa. You are one of the strongest men that walk on this face of the earth.
We give glory to God.
Yes, to God be the glory. We appreciate what you are doing, but I would like you to give me a little time to discuss with you about other possible options. Like concerning every decision you are taking about Mazin Namdekano, your own decisions on the way to go about things is highly commended. And I believe you have a right, and I also believe that most of us from Biafra land also have a right? I was wondering if there is a way we can work around the issue of this election.
I'm just a spokesperson. I'm just a spokesperson for Biafra people, and we're not here to discuss this election. Biafra people Biafra people have decided not to validate the impunity you see that I'm exposing here today. Okay, this impunity is what we are not going to validate. So the issue of election is dead on arrival. What we are fighting for democracy. Okay. So we have to destroy this evil so we can have a better life and a better opportunity to build more democratic society in Biafra land. That's all we are looking for. You cannot listen to what I did here today, how the court is releasing somebody because he's elected an elected person, which is not elected though. You choose the person and the person say court doesn't have the right, that he is the one. And people are begging, saying, oh, let us elect another person so that to elect. So it is no longer about the rule of law. A country that doesn't have rule of law is waiting for a very bad anarchy. It is not happening today, it's going to happen tomorrow. So for you to understand that the people that are supporting election are also they know that it is impunity that they are supporting. Because you cannot be a normal human being and you say, let us support this person so that when the person win, he will do this, which is against the law. So we are fighting for the rule of law. We are fighting to get a country where somebody will not have the power to design for the justice system. that it is going to be, they say that court is the hope of a common man. Okay? Now, the hope of a common man is no longer in the court. It is now in the hand of elected individuals. And that cannot be acceptable.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear. Just give me a little time. Let me have a little discussion with you.
My brother, I am not going to discuss with you on issue of election, please. Let us discuss on Biafra.
I'm not.
All right. Sometimes people should heed to our own advice, that we're not here to waste time on. How you take they do this while they pick your call like this? Huh? No. How you think they do this thing?
I use my two phones and I've been trying both because yesterday you didn't allow me in. Listen, my brother, you know I told you God bless the day your mother was conceived by you, and God bless that day that you were born. When Jesus Christ wants to die, there are two people beside him, and one of them said, "Please, Master, don't forget me. Remember me in your kingdom." Mazi, please, you are the one that initiated me. Remember me when Biafra comes. Don't let us down. Please, I'm begging you. I am happy. You are giving them wutu.
We're not they give anybody breathing space again, no?
Not at all.
Knock out.
This over Obama, I tagged him because he made a silly speech about forcing people not to vote or vote. I told him that you should give people that children of nobody, they will become somebody in America, not in Nigeria. Nigeria is only the children of terrorists that become somebody, not we.
Yes.
We don't want anything but let us go. Vote to let us go. That is what we want. Nadikanu will be happy wherever it is. And everybody is scared of you now, and they don't know what to do. You've shut everybody's mouth. Those ones in Nigeria, you've shut them up. You've shut them up. My brother, God will bless you. I am so happy to know you. I am so happy to be part of this movement. Now I am happy, my brother. There is no going back. No, if you want women to come, like I said in that first time, I'm ready, but it's gone past that now. No more suicidal. I was willing to go and do a suicidal. What kind of life are we living? That will have oil in our place. We cannot make use of it. I'm from Warri. Warri is dead. And the oil is polluting our water. There is nothing there. Some people is not from Warri, from the riverine area. Is just for we that is from Warri, we have river, we have oil, we are not seeing it.
We are going home. We are going home. We are going home.
We are already in home. That's why I sing yesterday for Bamba. I said, home, my home, my home, home, my home, my home. When shall I see my home? In Ekpa land, where shall I see my native land? I shall never forget my home. We will never forget Biafra. We are here, my brother. I'm happy to
the power belongs to the people, okay? And we are invoking that spirit of the power belonging to the people. It is going to manifest this week.
Yes, amen.
Yes.
I believe you. If they like, let them not believe. Those that are still doubting like that, Thomas, let them keep on doubting. That one
for those that claim that Simon Ekpa was frightened, I want to give you this. They see me so. What you don't know is bigger than you.
It's bigger than you. It's bigger than them. It's bigger than them. People will die one by one. They never say anything.
I go just hear they laugh. They do my comedy. Things gonna happen.
You don't know I'm happy. We are happy here. You know where we are already, my brother. We are happy. We are happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're gonna be the last caller, this evening.
Oh, I'm happy today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, and that's our last caller of the day. Thank you very much. May God bless you. May God bless Masina Bikano. May God bless Sunday Boho. May God bless Professor Akintoye. May God bless our Umada. May God bless our Eastern Security Network. May God bless the Biafran Liberation Army. May God bless all our alliances. May God bless the media team. May God bless Umada and their husband as well. May God bless our chiefs, our Igwes, our Ezemos, our Reverend Fathers. Not the kind of Reverend Father that is writing about P2B. God can never bless such a Reverend Father. May God bless Reverend Father Mbaka, people like that. God will bless them. God bless our women and our people. Yes, why? The Ezemo and Co. May God bless all of you. From here, from me, it's good evening.
The Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday summoned the Finnish ambassador to Nigeria, Lena Filbaninian, over Simon Ekpa's latest remarks to obstruct the 2023 general election in southeast Nigeria. The ministry, who spoke through its representative, Zubairu Dada, called on the Finnish ambassador to stop Ekpa from inciting violence in Nigeria from Finland with regards to the upcoming general elections. In the statement, which read in part, Dada said, "We have had some time to ensure that we arrest the situation, but it appears the situation is getting out of hand, and we are saying enough is enough. We should let you know, in very strong terms, that it is high time you really back Nigeria with the quest that something is done immediately because it threatens the forthcoming elections." Zubairu Dada further stated that the threat that Simon Ekpa posed toward the upcoming election is very high due to the large number of supporters he commands in Nigeria. This, in essence, is why we thought it was important for us to have the discussion with you so as to let you know our concerns and the displeasure of the governments of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria on this very unhealthy development. While alluding to the fears and concern raised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria against activities of Simon Ekpa, the Finnish ambassador to Nigeria said, "This is an issue we have been discussing. We share the concerns, we have discussed the matter, and as I mentioned, our law enforcement agencies are in touch and are cooperating. Also, he's a double citizen as far as I know of Nigeria and Finland, and is therefore, as you rightly said, protected and safe and sound in his home in Finland. But we have to take his rights into consideration as well. So everything has to obviously be done according to Finnish legislation, which has very strong protections for freedom of speech."
Presidential contender Adamu Gardaba joining us live here on RT International. Great to see you today. A very warm Welcome to you. You've been listening to the story here on RT. I know you know the story. I mean, just briefly, this guy, Simon Ekpa, born in 1985. They say he's a Nigerian Finnish lawyer and a political activist. He's accused of essentially running a separatist movement from his home in Finland. And Nigeria has demanded that Finland take measures against this activist. Why does the government see the activist as a threat, Adamu?
Because you know what the activist is building on is something that started since 1966 in Nigeria, when we had the first civilian war that is called Biafran War, when some generals in that area decided to want to secede. Then a civil war was ensured, and suddenly there was unity. But most recently, one man that was termed and adjudicated as a terrorist in Nigeria, who is currently serving in Nigerian jail, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, started the movement in the name of IPOB, that's Indigenous People of Biafra, to actualize the dream of that secession. He was termed, jailed currently in Nigeria. And suddenly you now have this man who is sitting in Finland, was able to leverage on social media platforms to continue to stir violence and encourage killings and destruction in that part of the country that have known no peace for so long time. Someone never leveraged on social media. He lived in Finland, he paid Finnish tax, and do everything well in Finland, happily with his family, while causing trouble and making people here to be killing each other. When that happens again, he will carry the footages of the killings and publish on his social media handles.
But Mr. Garda, sorry, I mean, can I just jump in quickly? I mean, do you think this guy, Simon Ekpa, is working alone? Because there are some reports saying that he may have a sponsor, but that claim has not been substantiated. What do you think? I mean, are we talking about a guy on his own, or is he getting support from somewhere?
There is no way you would disconnect the wide-ranging network of this Biafra movement across the world. It is there. But one thing that surprises us is the fact that he is living in a self-acclaimed democratic country, a democratic model, Finland, and the country that Nigeria have a very strong strategic relationship with them. And this man is threatening to disrupt a democratic process in the coming election that is happening in just 7 days from today. He insisted that he will ensure that his activists are armed and they will go to the street, fight, destroy, and stop every other people from going to exercise their freedom of expression and voting. And this is the most democratic practice we have in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria is one of the model of Western-style democracy. And this man is living in a Western country, disrupting a Western-style democracy in Nigeria, and the Finnish authority did not do it.
Why do you think that is, Adam? Why do you think Finnish authorities have done nothing about this guy, Simon Ekpa, who's essentially trying to run a separatist movement from his home in Finland to affect Nigeria just ahead of your presidential elections? Why is Finland doing nothing?
To be very frankly with you, personally, this is my personal view, and I think Western relationship with Nigeria has always been double standard. There has always been double standard. It appears that what Simon Ekpa is doing is either not threatening their interests or is serving their interests. So to that effect, they will fold their arms and let whatever it is that happen. But if they truly care about democracy, as they say, as they release in their press statement, as they want to support Nigeria to ensure that there is free and fair election where all Nigerians are going to vote peacefully, the best solution, the best thing they need to do is to make sure that that guy is apprehended and perhaps submitted down to Nigeria so that he can face the justice of Nigeria, since it is voting Nigeria, not Finland.
All right, former Nigerian presidential contender Adamu Garba joining us live here on RT International. Great to see you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, everything he said is a lie, okay? Everything he said is a lie. And I will address him tomorrow. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not serving prison. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not in prison. That's number one. And that's a lie. So, but of course, he will use ignorance as an excuse. It is not an ignorant. He knows what he's doing. He knows the difference between incarcerated and going to prison. I don't know whether he is educated as such, but at least he should be able to know the difference between staying in DSS dungeon and staying in prison. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not in prison. He's being incarcerated illegally. Number two is that the videos that we're displaying about the protest there has nothing to do with Biafra. The video there was the video of the people protesting against the Nigerian state, against the Naira and the Naira scarcity. So all these things that they are Russia TV or something, they are all lies and propaganda. Second of all, they are the one who incite violence in Nigeria, not us. They're the one who fund terrorism. They're the one who fund herdsmen to kill people in our villages and our communities. They are the one who start violence, not us. But I'm going to address him tomorrow if need be. So I think I will need to debunk all this nonsense he was saying here. And yes, I have my right to, pursue the freedom of my people. I have my right to also fight against the state that have pick up arms against my people. I have the right to pick up arms against a state that has sponsored the killing, extrajudicial killing, genocide against my people. And that's what I'm doing. And I will do it any day, anytime. So you can go and hug yourself in one big transformer if that is a problem to you. What I'm doing is it is called self-defense. I am fighting, defending my people from terrorist Nigeria state. Okay? I'm going to do it any day, anytime, without apology from anybody. If you kill a Biafran as a Nigerian state, the Biafran people will come for you. That's what I'm doing. So you can cut this one and send to them as well.
Hi, wakosisi nepome na kuruta. Ebubeli gwamo bilien. Oja bantu mene pilotimo. Olisabi ni gwamo bilien. Kulio bilio. Chukwo kikabiama. Borona nyaga. Kulio bilio. Chukwo kikabiama. Borona nyaga. Kulio bilisienu. Chukwo kikabiama. Usiere na nyaga. Kulio bilienu. Chukwo kikabiama. Usiere na nyaga. Maximum respect to my own diluted leader, Prophet Mazinan Kano. EU kept quiet, America kept quiet, UN kept quiet, whole world kept quiet. EU kept quiet, America kept quiet, UN kept quiet, the whole world kept quiet. EU kept quiet, America kept quiet, UN kept quiet.
Okay, there will Chineke. From me, we have to draw the curtain here. Stay safe wherever you are. Call your families and friends and encourage them to keep the fire burning, because our freedom is in our own hands.
Hi, wakosisi nepome na kuruta. Everybody go mo billion. Oja bantu bene pilotimo. Oli sabi ni gwe mo billion. Kulio bilio. Chukwo kikabiama. Boro na nyaga. Kulio bilio. Chukwo kikabiama. Boro na nyaga. Kulio bilisienu. Chukwo kikabiama. Uzere na nyaga. Kulio bilienu. Chukwo kikabiama. Maximum respect to my own diluted leader, Prophet Mazin Nandekano. You kept quiet, America kept quiet, UN kept quiet, the whole world kept quiet. You kept quiet, America kept quiet, UN kept quiet, the whole world kept quiet. You kept quiet, America kept quiet, UN kept quiet, the whole world kept quiet. You kept quiet, America kept quiet, you kept quiet, the whole world kept quiet. They came from Sahel, they came from Chad, they came from Niger, Senegal and Mali, claiming our land, killing our people because of our blessings. My God, go to the bushes now, they're everywhere, kidnapping and killing people every day, raping and killing our women and men, slaughtering them in their family. Hey God, kidnapping and killing Christians night and day, and nobody they talk. Chimo, dividing and ruling we anyhow, as if you are not human being. My God, abducting and killing Biafrans every day, and the whole world they watch, the whole world they see. Kulio, Kulio, Chukwuki Kabiama. Kulio, Chukwuki Kabiama. Corona Nyaga. What causes it the problem? Everybody come out, Kulio. But you're about to make a pilotino. But it's happening, Kulio, Kulio, Chukwuki Kabiama. They splitted us just the killers. They rape our papa, they rape our mama. He go do me, we are one. He shone bank, we are one people. The robo is so good, we are one. He's on security, we are one people. Ogo di Calabari, we are one. Calabar and Igbo, we are one. He go do me, we are one. He shone bank, we are one people. Urobo is so good, we are one. He's on security, we are one people. Ogo di Calabari, we are one. Calabar and Igbo, we are one people. They splitted us, just the killers. They rape our papa, they rape our mama, they rape our wives, they rape our girls, they rape our sisters, raping even our children, raping their car with the concealer to women with the top and they die. Small.